Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. We are presented by BetMGM. Brendan Glasheen joined on this Sunday evening, June 23rd, getting set for Monday's slate, June 24th, with Sean Zerillo and Charlie DiSturco. Monday Best Bets. We do Best Bets episodes Mondays, Tuesdays, and Friday mornings. That's when the pod comes out during the regular season. So if you haven't done so, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. You can also find us over on the Action Network YouTube page. Please subscribe to our channel there. Also hit that bell. You get notifications when we have episodes, short videos, etc. When we go live, that will all come your way. So check that out as well. 12-game slate. Some interesting angles to get into, and we'll kind of organically mix it all in. But some top-tier arms in the American League are pitching on Monday. So that's fascinating in terms of Cy Young odds movement and whatnot, how that could all fluctuate and might position some of the guys that are not quite at the top, but could make some strides heading into tomorrow. But we'll start, as we always do, with best bets. Sean Zerillo, why don't you start us off? Best bet for Monday.
The Cincinnati Reds in both halves up to about minus 125 in the first 5 innings and minus 115 for the full game. Projected those lines at about minus 136 and minus 126 respectively. Carson Spires has been in their bullpen and now is in their rotation. Worked as a long reliever prior to starting last time out. But he has really good command and a very good slider. Beyond that, it's a very below average profile. But that should be enough to pitch to about a league average result. So he has a 3.7 expected ERA this season, a 14.2% strikeout minus walk rate. That 14.2% above the major league average. I think he can pitch to around a 4 ERA, 4.25, somewhere in that range, but projections have him between 4.6 and 485. So I don't think the market views Carson Spires much better than that right now. They still view him as a replacement level arm. I think with the command, 109 location plus, he's not walking any guys, a 4% walk rate. I think with really solid command, he can be around a league average pitcher. And projections coming into the year had him closer to a 5 ERA. I've really had to move him substantially compared to my priors on him. Bailey Falter last year, 5.36 ERA, 4.9 expected ERA. This year, the expected ERA is up. Or I should say this year, the expected ERA up by 0.2 of a run, but the ERA down from 5.36 to 3.74. The main culprit, batting average on balls in play. It was at 3.08 last season. This year at 2.40, so well above the major league average, so well below. His strikeout minus walk rate is down 1.5%, even though his stuff plus rating has actually gone up this season. And his velocity is up as well. So I would expect slight improvement, but I would still put him closer to that 4.9 expected ERA where he was last season. And in terms of the offensive splits, the Reds have a pretty significant advantage in this matchup. I've discussed the Pirates splits throughout the season, the fact that they're much better against lefties than righties. 16th against lefties on the year, Pittsburgh Pirates, but 29th against right-handed pitching. The Reds in this matchup, closer to league average against left-handed pitching, they're 17th. They do struggle, though, against righties, 26th. These bullpens are pretty equal, but the splits advantage, the pitching advantage, all points towards Cincinnati. So have the Reds projected, as I said, closer to minus 135 and minus 125 in the two halves. Bet those to minus 125 and minus 115.
All right, very good. Reds, Pirates tomorrow night. They get going at 7:10. Charlie, what do you have for a best bet Monday?
Yeah, me and Sean are going to be hand-holding our way through this slate because we agree on a lot of stuff. And I agree on the Cincinnati Reds having an advantage on Bailey Falter. And because of that, I'm taking Spencer Steer. Most likely his over 1.5 total bases, maybe the hits, runs, RBI. Right now, obviously, we do the show at night, so there's not props up currently for the offensive players on the Cincinnati Reds side of things. Spencer Steer, though, first in WRC plus and isolated power against left-handed pitching. He has seen an increase in fly ball and hard hit rate over the last, couple of weeks. And that's come because of this month of June where he's finally figuring it out, really struggled out of the gates, now hitting, around 270 with a 730 OPS in the month of June. He's not quite, the overpowering type of player, but against lefties, you really see that in 864 OPS and is 5 for 8 against Falter this season in his career with a home run. So put it all together, Bailey Falter, Sean talked about him. He gives up a lot of fly balls, a lot of barrels, having a career worst when it comes to hard hit rate as well. I think all of this culminates in Spencer Steer having a huge advantage for at least 2, if not 3 at-bats, assuming that the Reds don't chase him out early. And if they do, it's most likely Steer having an impact in the middle of the order. So friendly ballpark, Cincinnati #1 in park factor for home runs, 5th overall in park factor. I think that's kind of where Falter has benefited from pitching in PNC. They're 25th in home run and around league average in park factor. So all of this together to say Steer hits lefties extremely well. #1 on the Reds in WRC plus and isolated power. So I'm going to back him to do some damage here. Think that he's more than live to find the bleachers.
All right. So there's your angles there for Reds Pirates, a game that Sean and Charlie both feel strongly about as far as angles to target it. Let's go to our Fade the Public segment. We have 2 games on our radar. Cash coming in on the Padres and the Royals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Matt Waldron feels like an Action Network darling now. I feel like we always talk about him on the podcast, or he's brought up. But Waldron's pitching for the Padres, and where's Tanner McGrath when I need him? Garrett Cole Hamels Reagans. That's what it is. Garrett Cole Hamels Reagans. That's what he calls Cole Reagans. He's pitching tomorrow for the Royals. Tomorrow night against the Miami Marlins. So the cash is coming in on the Padres and Royals. Zerillo will go right in order. Padres Nationals angle first, and Royals Marlins. Is the public right?
So I projected the Padres at -231, but I could have made this even more aggressive if I used the lowest possible projection on Waldron and the least optimistic projection on Patrick Corbin, whose expected ERA now is 6.7. I could have made this as high as -355,
Wow.
But I'm using a more conservative projection on Waldron. Waldron has an expected ERA of around 3.5. I'm using a projection on him around 4.1. Corbin, as I said, expected ERA around 6.7. I'm using a projection on him around 5.3. So about a run and a quarter gap that I would make the differential between them in terms of how I'm modeling it. And I still get to -230 for the first 5 innings. So as I said, if I expand that out, I could get it up to -355 if I really pushed it. So definitely a bet on Padres here for the first 5 innings. Just the one thing with Waldron is I feel like it's a higher degree of variance than it is for any other pitcher, right? Like backing him as a -230 favorite or -200 regardless, it's a bit more uncomfortable than backing a guy with huge stuff, a Garrett Cole at -200, who you're going to get that big fastball, Tyler Glasnow, a guy typically over -200. You're going to get the big fastball and the big stuff. Waldron just could have a bad night, and I feel like there's a higher degree of likelihood of randomness that he just has a bad night as opposed to your typical ace-level pitcher. I still think in the aggregate, he's very dominant, but he's also going to have some huge flops as well. So wouldn't go too aggressively, but do have to note, I could make this projection much wider than I actually did. In terms of the Royals, specifically, Cole, Hamels, Reagans, Tanner McGrath-ish, we want to denominate him. He's one of 3 AL Cy Young candidates and AL pitching war leaders going on Monday's slate. So right now, Cole Reagans, Tanner Houck, Garrett Crochet, Houck first, Crochet second, Reagan 6th in MLB pitching wins above replacement. They're 1, 2, 3 in the American League. Tarek Skubal is 4th. The first 3 guys all starting tomorrow. I was just doing some back of the envelope math to see where these guys sort of rank out over the end of the season or over the rest of the season. So Houck top 3 by both, this is Steamer and Zips updated end of season projections. Houck and Skubal both top 3 by wins above replacement, updated end of season projections. Crochet a bit lower. I guess Zips doesn't buy into him as aggressively. My concern with Crochet and betting him for AL Cy Young is just what if he gets traded to the National League? What if a team cashes in their prospects for a guy who is actively being shopped? I'm not sure if he does get traded. He could get traded to the American League, of course. But what if he does get dealt to the NL? Then that ticket blows up. So Skubal and Houck, based on the projections, as I said, both top 3. You have Burns lurking there 4th. I think his price is probably too short, but I would consider targeting Tanner Houck, I think, in the Cy Young market. He's a guy who popped early. He's completely over-ramped his arsenal this season, and he's throwing the ball as well as anybody in the American League. Last I checked, he was still about 12-1. I'm not sure what the odds are currently, Brennan.
Plus
you might
900.
be able to pull them up. What is it?
Plus 900.
Yeah, that would be about where I'd cut it off. I want to take a look at this more overnight. Maybe you'll see a notification from me in the app. I also want to see, what his next few scheduled starts line up as, who are his upcoming opponents before I actually go ahead and fire on him. But Yeah, I think Houck might be the value play in terms of AL Cy Young right now. Zips has him as the end of season WAR leader at 4.5 ahead of Skubal. So that's about enough information you need. What is he, third, fourth, fifth on the odds board relative to a first and third place WAR projection ranking? I mean, that's the differential you're looking for. But just to back up, to go to the Royals and to go to Reagan's, I projected that at minus 270 for the first 5 innings. Reagan's 3.3 expected ERA. Houck, 3.3. Crochet, 2.4. So just see the level there between Crochet and the other 2 guys. But Roddery Munoz for the Marlins, this was a guy who, when they called him up, didn't have a Fangraphs page, or he had a Fangraphs page, but he didn't have projections on his Fangraphs page because he wasn't expected to be called up this season. He had a 7% strikeout minus walk rate in AAA, a 5.9 expected FIP in AAA before he was called up. He's posted a 94 stuff plus rating. He's actually been like a little bit better than I thought he was initially, but his expected ERA is over 7. So this guy is a replacement level starter. He wasn't expected to be in the big leagues this year. Cole Reagans is an AL Cy Young candidate and firmly within that group, and maybe still underrated if anything. So like a massive starting pitcher differential here. I mean, 2.5, 2 runs, 3 runs on an ERA projection. It's huge. So yeah, Royals first 5 and Padres first 5, both bets for me.
Yeah, the Royals, anytime they're discussed, it's always first 5, I think, no matter who's on the mound, because that bullpen is so concerning.
It's a lot of coin flippy games late for them, like at best. That bullpen, especially when they play Texas, those bullpens are both very bad. I think I bet Texas first 5 today, and was like, I want nothing to do with either of those bullpens. They're both a disaster. So
lines up for Houck. So he's got the Blue Jays tomorrow, Monday, and then he's got the Padres, and I think he's going to end up pitching in New York against the Yankees. He would not, and then maybe against the Royals at some point in the middle of July before the All-Star break. But he wouldn't get
look at his like past innings too. I feel like he's, his innings have been kind of capped in the past. He's gone between the rotation and the bullpen. He tossed 106 last season. So the upside there is really like 165. I've said the threshold is like 160 for qualifying for the award. So he's right on the cusp. Skubal though too. Skubal's increasing about 100 innings over last year. So he's really extending out. Maybe the longevity, like the fact that Burns does have 200 innings in his arm, maybe that's the advantage for Corbin Burns. But the projections say to go elsewhere in terms of value.
Tell you what, quick aside, I was down the Cape Cod this past weekend, and Sam Kennedy was having dinner, a table behind me. I should have asked him what their plan is at the deadline, because knowing this team and this organization, God knows that Tanner Houck's going to get moved at the deadline. And I'm not joking.
I don't know.
The Red Sox have been fun this year, though, and
I didn't say they weren't, but they
no. But I think they would hate to ruin the vibes of like new GM, new like direction that this organization is headed in. That would be a huge mistake. So,
I agree, but
that way, but yeah, I think they could.
Oh, he's on a 1-year deal.
I think I've downgraded Tampa Bay. I've obviously downgraded Toronto, but I think I've downgraded Tampa Bay. Prior to the preseason. I mean, yes, they'll be a better team at the end of the year, but the Red Sox now have a window to kind of build a lead in third place in the AL East, and I still think they're in the wild card hunt. So, yeah, I think that'd be a massive mistake. I'd be very surprised if they sold. Okay,
well, to be fair, because we are fair, there's a report from a month ago now that the Red Sox have reportedly spoke to Houck about a contract extension. So. All right.
It's kind of reminding me of what Jake Arrieta did when he won the Cy Young. Not to that degree. Jake Arrieta's Cy Young season was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But this transformation is pretty phenomenal. And you keep expecting him to turn into a pumpkin, but I don't think it's going to happen. There's no reason why he should. Like the expected metrics, the increase, everything is justified. It's just, it's giving me Jake Arrieta Cy Young season vibes to a degree.
Andrew Bailey, man. He's like, He's the pitcher whisperer. He's like Sean McVay in quarterbacks.
And it's a copycat league, so we'll see how many teams follow suit and stop throwing fastballs.
Andrew Bailey's like offensive coordinators now. He's going to get a manager job because of how he's turned around the staff. Real quick,
too overqualified as a pitching coach, and that's sometimes you can be too good at one job that it makes you less valuable moving to a different role. So
Reagan's is not a play at 16-1.
No, he could be. No, this is something I want to think about overnight. It's so like I have Skubal at 25-1 preseason, but I'm not betting him at plus 120 right now. I'm not betting Burns at plus 400 when he's 4th in projections. It's between Reagan's, it's between Houck, And I have Gilbert preseason. Gilbert's interesting. Gilbert's like 5th or 6th on a bunch of these. George Kirby. I mean, Gilbert and Kirby were preseason picks. So, like, I like guys that I had in the preseason still. Gilbert, Kirby. Just the number has to be right. But yeah, for me, it's probably Reagans or Haug if I'm looking for value right now.
Okay. All right, Charlie. Sorry, you can get a word in here. Money's coming in on the Padres and Royals. This is our Fade the Public segment, but it's also introduced the Cy Young banter, which we have more on in the Underdog segment. But go ahead, Charlie. What are your thoughts? Padres and Royals getting some money.
Yeah, the only thing that I would look toward is fading Patrick Corbin, though I will say Matt Waldron making the knuckleball cool again, which is probably the best thing about him right now is just watching knuckleballers shove. But Patrick Corbin, Sean talked about horrific expected ERA. When it comes to expected batting average, he's also in the bottom 1% of all pitchers, does not strike out batters, gives up a lot of hard hits and barrels. So that leads to me looking toward the San Diego Padres side of things. Jurickson Profar is 11th in baseball over the last month against lefties. That's across 42 plate appearances. Has a 224 WRC plus and a near 230 isolated power. So you just look at the numbers in general, and he's absolutely crushed southpaws. And this season, or I guess in his career, 3 for 7 with a double against Corbin. So I think he's more than live. Curious to see what happens with Fernando Tatis Jr. left with the triceps injury after being hit by the pitch. Has not played yet since being removed. He is 5 for 9 in his career against Corbin in the last 30 days, hitting near 350 with a 990 OPS. So I think the Padres bats are more than live and where you want to look if you're trying to get into a prop side of things. But yeah, fading Patrick Corbin anytime I can.
All right. Yeah, speaking of big injuries, Giancarlo Stanton out for about a month with the hamstring. With Aaron Judge already kind of banged up. That's not good for the Yankees. Yeah. Just when they're getting Cole back, now the lineup's getting hurt. Anywho, we're talking a lot of pitching on this podcast. Let's go to Underdog of the day. Consensus Dog, the Dodgers, who were off Sunday, split with the Angels. They played Friday, Saturday, did not play on Sunday. The White Sox did, but it's White Sox-Dodgers. Garrett Crochet's on the mound for Chicago, and the White Sox they're dogs, but they're short dogs, Zerlo. So is there value in the White Sox or Crochet pitching?
Yes, and with the Dodgers having Sunday off, their bullpen will be a little bit more well-rested than they typically would. So that leads me to likelier first 5 innings play than the full game. I want to see where the line comes out. The Dodgers haven't officially announced the pitcher as of the time we're talking, which is why we don't have a first 5 line. We do have a full game line. I made the White Sox about a coin flip over the full game, but closer to minus 130 for the first 5 innings. And James Paxton is a guy we've discussed throughout the season. He finally had a good start. Last time out against the Rockies, 70 stuff plus, 75 in the season. So no gain in velocity, no gain in movement. It's the same guy that he's been all season who has been due to regress towards his 4.6 expected ERA, but we'll keep trying. The White Sox, though, have pretty encouraging offensive splits on the season. Not great. Bottom 5, I believe, against left-handed pitching. But over the last 30 days, they're 5th in WRC plus against lefties. They're 29th against righties over the same span, which is right where they've been all season. But if you look at the offensive group that they have, Andrew Vaughn has been crushing the ball. But Tommy Pham, Luis Robert, Eloy, Vaughn, DeYoung, and they have Corey Julks on their bench, who I'd imagine will be in there. That's a pretty good 6 hitters against the left-handed pitcher. That's an above-average group, top 6 hitters against left-handed pitching. So, yeah, I think the White Sox actually have decent splits here. We've discussed the Dodgers lineup and the drop-off after Ohtani and Freeman, and hopefully for the first 5 innings with Crochet pitching, you only see those guys twice. He turns over the lineup twice, maybe, sees them a third time. But it's you're looking for those guys to get on base and then him to limit the damage behind them with the lesser hitters. And I think the White Sox lineup splits are shocking against lefties over the last 30 days, but it actually aligns with the players they have. And they were just massively underachieving even early on. I discussed how they have major league players, guys with major league experience who just weren't doing anything at all. And DeYoung was one of those names. He's been hitting the late. So yeah, it's definitely White Sox or pass, but I'm probably trying to take first 5 or pass if I can, as long as the number is okay. If it's minus 115 or better, that'd be fine.
Okay. What do you think it will be?
Plus money.
Plus money?
Even money.
Yeah.
Even money.
Okay. All right. Charlie. And by the way, Crochet, 9-1 for Cy Young, even with Tanner Houck right now.
Yeah, the only concern is the trade, but he's awesome. I mean, he's the better pitcher. I think he's
probably
like,
the best
expected
one.
ERA says he's the best of the three. It's him and Tyler Glasnow, right? In terms of expected ERA. Crochet's first in strikeout minus walk rate. He's second in expected ERA behind Glasnow. So those guys have the most explosive stuff. I just worry about the trade and injury, I guess, with him stretching out and the past history, etc.
I'm sure we've done this over the years. So if he were to get dealt, we did this. I think we did this last year with Ohtani. If he was traded, if Crochet was traded and you bet him to win American League Cy Young and he's on a National League team, do you lose the bet?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't win AL. I mean, he could, in theory, win AL Cy Young, right? You could put up like if he was, 16-0 with a 1 ERA when he got traded in August 1st, he could still win the AL Cy Young. But yeah, I mean, he'd be eligible for voting, but you wouldn't have a chance of winning.
But would you get your money back? Would you push?
Oh no.
Okay.
It'd just be like an injury.
Sportsbooks might be, say like,
yeah,
hey,
we'll see.
Here's a solid.
If he's the favorite, it might be an easy like marketing refund for sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What are your thoughts, Charlie, with Crochet against the top heavy Dodgers lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with Zerillo, and I was so ready to come in and hope that he didn't realize that over the last 30 days, the White Sox were 5th in WRC plus against lefties, because I love the White Sox in this first 5 here. Paxton, his expected ERA a run higher, xFIP 1.5 runs higher. He's got a 240 BABIP, so all these numbers just suggest that he's going to negatively regress. And then you look at the numbers, it's not like he's going to be striking out the White Sox. Like, they're going to be putting the ball into play. He's shored up his walks of late a little bit, but still has a double-digit walk rate. Bottom 10% of all pitchers in whiffs and strikeouts. So just everything across the board for Paxton says fade. We talked about the White Sox offense. Crochet, we don't really have to talk about much. The one thing I'll add about the Dodgers offense and how we talked about they're so top-heavy, Freeman against lefties, surprisingly, you would think not as split-proof. He has a 341 average and a 1,000 OPS against righties. Those numbers dropped to 224 average and 684 OPS against lefties, which I was pretty shocked by because, he's one of the best hitters all around in baseball. Maybe it's age that's catching up to him or whatever it is. But Ohtani also pretty much not split proof. His OPS drops pretty much split proof. His OPS drops, a couple 100 points. But think that at the end of the day, maybe we're worried about Teoscar plating one into the outfield stands. But other than that, I'm not worried about anybody in this back end of the Dodgers lineup, especially, 2 times through the order with Crochet, because the first time through, they're just going to sit and watch him throw 100 right by their face. So I like the White Sox here as an underdog in this one. I think it's a good buy spot. I think this would have been a good fade the public too. I think the public might have been all over the Dodgers seeing a minus 140 price in general and still think that it might happen.
But you're all right with
career. Freddie 153 against righties and 119 against lefties for his career. I would have thought it was closer to even as well. Jordan, Kyle Tucker, those are the guys we always discuss as neutral splits, lefties, righties, and that's why the Astros kill lefties, is because those guys don't take any drop off against lefties. Yeah, Freddie with a 34-point split, lefties, righties. That's surprising.
Yeah.
But Charlie, you're okay with the full game despite the fact that the Dodgers will have the off day with the rest of it.
I'm okay with it. I think that there's value in it. I will most likely end up though on the first 5, depending on the price. If it opens, say a pick'em, not in plus money like we expect, then I'll probably end up on just taking it and crisscross, maybe just slightly grab a live hedge on the Dodgers at the 7th inning when Crochet comes out. Yeah, I think the White Sox are going to be up entering the 6th, 7th, 8th inning and should not implode like they always do. But
it's one of the surest things that typically happens. If they have a lead or they're tied, it goes south very fast.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more before we go. Zerillo, you got one more side in total in the same game.
Yeah, Orioles and under 8.5. I was trying to figure out how Cade Povich limits hard contact. He's has a low hard hit rate through his first 3 starts, even strikeout and walk rate, but he's had two starts where he allowed a bunch of walks. He was dominant against the Braves, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He had a 10% strike or walk rate in AAA. And if you look at his scouting grades, he is a 60 future command grade, but a 45 current. So 60 is plus command, 45 is below average. And that's how he's performed to date. He's going to have some starts where the command is not there. He's going to have some starts where he looks really good. But he has a nasty slider. He has a nasty cutter. He's not throwing them that much right now. He's throwing the fastball more. He's throwing the curveball more. His curveball is the scouting grade pitch, but hasn't really popped in terms of the pitching models. So I was trying to figure out how he's done it so far, and he generates pop-ups. That's the Cade Povich secret sauce, is you look at his minor league career, high fly ball rates, high pop-up rates. And I like pop-up guys because pop-ups are the same as strikeouts. You know, there's no difference. It just counts differently in the box score, but people look at strikeout rate. I look at strikeout rate first. Everybody looks at strikeout rate first when you're analyzing pitchers. It's the easiest thing to tell, but pop-ups are awesome. I love pop-ups. Mike Fiers, great pop-up guy, especially when he was pitching in Oakland and had all that extra foul ground in Oakland. That's how Oakland built that rotation when they were underrated and overachieving, you know, seemingly every season and winning 90 games when they were projected to win 80. They had a bunch of pop-up pitchers, and they were in Oakland, and every foul ball was turning into an out. So I think Povich can continue to generate the pop-ups. He's going to give up fly balls, but I don't mind that tomorrow because 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left field. You have that wall, that giant wall deep in left field in Baltimore. So he's going to have the wind blowing in against that. It's going to be really hard to hit home runs, pull home runs against him for right-handed hitters. And that's all the Guardians like to do is pull the ball. So in the air, that's what they're doing with a ton of success this year. They're getting the wind tunnel effect in Cleveland with their stadium boosting home runs, and they're hitting a bunch of bombs. So I really like Tanner Bibby too. You know, Tanner Bibby, I think, is underrated, 3.5 expected ERA. He's got a 23% strikeout minus walk rate. That's 8th amongst qualified pitchers this season. It's top 10 starter among qualified pitchers. Above average pitch modeling metrics. Doesn't have a great fastball, but really good slider and curve. So the reason why I like Baltimore in this game, the Guardians bullpen just a little bit more taxed. Obviously, the Guardians had the better starter. Orioles position player advantage, but the Guardians are underrated there. Typically, the Guardians would have the much better bullpen, or at least a bullpen advantage. Tomorrow, for Monday, I make it even. I make the bullpens even. Clase worked for the 4th time in 5 days on Sunday. They have other guys who are a bit more overworked. The Orioles key relievers a bit more well-rested. So I like Baltimore up to about minus 110. And then I also like the under 8.5. As I said, with that wind blowing in from left field, I made this total closer to 8. So 8.5 down to minus 110 as well.
All right. Very good. Anything else for you, Charlie? You good?
No, but go Mets, because they are looking good every single series right now. I'm trying to find a way to bet them at some point for a futures market. Lindor now down to, what did I say earlier? 50 to 1?
50 to
MVP
1?
From 200 to 1?
Ohtani's the favorite. Tatis is hurt. But yeah, he still has
they
some
got to make the playoffs. Sean was saying he's got to have an OPS above 800, which is possible, but you know, he had such a bad start. I think it's possible. Ketel Marte also is hitting the ball, which I know Sean mentioned. I think last week. I think he dropped in half.
Ketel's really high and wins above replacement. This is a good week to take a look deeper into awards markets. Wow, Jared Duran 3.1 wins above replacement. Go Jared Duran. That is that's shocking.
Like, that's an elite list he's on, right? It's like him and 3 superstars.
He's right behind Volpe and Kyle Tucker. Yeah, that's astounding. I was out on Jared Duran coming into here. That's an L for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, impressive. The Red Sox turnaround this year has been impressive. It really has.
Kenley Jansen will be moved. Who else will they trade? They'll trade a couple guys.
Their bullpen games, they keep putting together these bullpen games. They're like, yeah, their bullpen for Monday is in not the best shape.
6 games above 500, Brendan.
I know it's no longer this back and forth to the multiple times they've been 500. I mean, look, it's cool. It almost feels like it's Alex Cora and Andrew Bailey, but Cora is basically it's Cora against the front office and ownership. Oh, all right, like I'm gonna do this my way, and he's winning in spite of it. It's kind of cool in that regard. But
there's no line out or no first 5 line out for the Jays game yet because Chris Bassett hasn't been officially announced, but I'm expecting him to start against Tanner Houck. I should just mention before we get off here, the Red Sox bullpen, they had a bullpen game effectively on Sunday and Saturday, and their bullpen is in very bad shape for Monday. So if I do bet the Red Sox, it'll be first 5 or pass, or I'll be betting Jays full game.
All right. Excellent. You can find Sean Zerillo and Charlie DiSturco in the Action app. It's a good reminder because of what they might have coming up in the futures market, Cy Young and maybe even MVP, or just futures in general. We'll be back here for Tuesday's slate, June 25th. We'll be back here to record tomorrow night. Be sure to download the free award-winning Action Network app. Leave your 5-star ratings and reviews. We did a giveaway on Friday of last week, so we'll do some giveaways, a chance to win some swag or a free Action Pro subscription for 1 year. Also, check out our Action Network Discord channel. There is a link to the channel in the episode description. For Sean Zerillo, Charlie DiSturco, Brendan Glasheen. Tuesday, we're back. We have an episode later this week as well. Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you again next time.